Hi, guys. So, this morning during worship or devotion, I was opportune to go back and read the story of Job. And the excerpt from which I read from talked about one of his conversations with his friends. Now, most of us, or some of us at least, have heard the story of Job and how this was a righteous man that walked uprightly with the Most High in everything that he did. And yet, he lost everything. He lost his homes. He lost all his children in different accidents. And finally, he lost his health. He also lost what many would consider his money, because all his cattle and everything that he had was considered wealth. And so he basically lost it all. The only person that was alive was him and his wife and maybe some of his servants. And yet, in everything that he went through, he was still able to have the right perspective. And so what I read today was a conversation that he had with some of his friends. Because like many of us, if we were to hear the story of Job in this day and age, we would assume that he had done something wrong, that he had offended somebody or some force, that he was just a very unlucky person, And so his friends echoed these views. They basically came to the conclusion that, listen, there's no possible way that you could be a good person or you could be a righteous person and go through all these things, Basically accusing him of doing something in the secret that had to have been evil for him to go through what he was going through. But the further I read, I was amazed at his reaction to his friends and his response, He basically directed them to the Most High, And then he goes on to to describe the personality of the Most High, He talks about how the Most High builds nations and tears them down. He builds up kings and people, and then he destroys them. Everything he does it his way, And this gave me so much insight to the heart and the mind and the mindset of Job. In that, Job just saw it as he didn't see himself as a victim, He didn't see himself as a victim. He just saw it at what he was going through as a part of life, a part of life and a part of the Most High's plan, rather than speaking evil. He thought to speak positivity. He thought to talk about the person who was behind it all in such a positive manner that it shocked me. Because I know that there had to be something about his positivity that most of us are still unable to grasp, that most of us have a lot to learn from. And so I feel as if his story convicted me in a way. It convicted me because it made me to remember all the things that I had been through and how I had nobody to turn to, because it seemed as if everything I was going through was due to my own volition. And people did not hesitate to remind me how it was all due to my own volition. But the more I thought about everything that had happened and the order it had happened, I knew that as much as I was not perfect, and that as much as I had done so many things wrong, that it was simply the Most High's desire for me to go through the things I was going through, because He knows that it's the story behind the suffering, it's the story behind the process. Many times we go through things not just for ourselves, but for the people that are coming after us, for the people who are going to watch and listen and learn. And so this makes our reactions even so much more important. Can we all truly say that during our hardest times that we can react the way Job did, to just focus on the goodness of the Most High, to focus on the goodness of His character and the process that He's taking us through? Can we truly put our heart posture in that, through that kind of mindset? I can say that even with my experiences, that I was not as upright as Job was in my reactions. Because growing up as among complainers and feeling like you're helpless and feeling like there's nothing that can be done, it's very easy to basically not see the hand of the Most High with us. It's very easy for us to conclude the worst and to speak accordingly. But the more I think about the life of Job, the more I am inspired to think through, to process, to pray, to do everything but to attack the goodness and the character of the Most High. It is one of the hardest things to do. And when I think about even the story of the angels and how it was talking about in one instance when Michael, who was basically a warrior angel, when Satan had accused him and said so many things, he did not utter a word to Satan. Can you imagine how, with as bad as we know Satan to be and everything that he had done, surely most of us would have a mouthful. Most of us would have so many things to say and retort. But not Michael. And this is a warring angel, an angel who had fought so many battles and won, even in heaven against Satan himself. And yet he did not bring a railing accusation against Satan, but just simply ignored him, because that is what it means when you know that you already have the victory and you know that you have substance. You don't say a word, because what would be the use of you bringing yourself down to the level of your accuser, to the level of the person who wants you to be destroyed alongside them? I feel like this is so classy. It's such a classy way of acting. And I can only pray, I can only hope and pray that I can embody that kind of character. And so you guys, as we go through this day, let us remember that more often than not is not what we go through, but how we go through it. It's the reactions, it's the the little things that we mutter under our breath. It's the things that go through our thoughts, you know? Are we remembering the promises that the Most High has made to us? Are we thinking about His goodness and His faithfulness? Are we able to envision ourselves the way that He has promised versus the way that we see things? Are we able to look through the mirage and see things for what they are? I pray that this would be our reactions. I pray that we are able to fill ourselves with the Word, because there's really no way that you can know the true character of the Most High against what you're going through and what you're experiencing unless you actually know His character. And the only way to know His character is through the Word and through experience. And so I pray that we are able to thank the Most High, knowing that our experiences are only for us to look back to and have something to refer to and have something to know the Most High even better. I also pray that we are able to read more of the Word, that we're able to pray more so that we can be in tune with our spirits and we can know that whatever is happening is simply just an occurrence versus who the Most High is and His promises towards us. And so this is my lesson today, and I pray that we all can be able to follow through by the grace and the Spirit of the Most High. So thank you all so much for your time, and until next time, blessings, blessings, blessings. Bye-bye. And guys, do you want to know one more thing? The Most High eventually restored unto Job far more than he ever lost. And he did that at the point when he prayed for his friends. And that's what the Bible says, is that the Lord remembered Job when he prayed for his friends. Whew, you guys. I don't know how many of us have friends that have betrayed us, that have backstabbed us, to the point that we don't even bother to have friends. But for such a man to have friends who judged him so severely and maybe even treated him not so well, you know, and for him to still not only forgive them and point them to the Most High, but to still go ahead and pray for them and wish them well, that is just like the most amazing thing ever, you know? It speaks volumes, and clearly it spoke volumes to the Most High, because he went ahead to restore everything that Job lost 2 times over, if not more. I was so inspired by this story because not many of us can or would do what Job did. Of course, as we look back, we can see that his story was not only meant to show us that it is possible to lose everything and still trust and believe in the Most High, but it also shows us that we will and we can regain everything that was lost many times over, just by praying for those who have harmed us.